I'm Jonathan Fine, and last weekend I was at the 2021 Tech Conference, and there were 8 talks on accessibility, which I think is a complete record. And 3 of the speakers were themselves blind or visually disabled. I think that's also a bit of a record. So now's a good time for making progress. And I chose this topic because I thought it was a way of sort of trying to unify what had happened after the Tech Conference. And thinking about what had happened there, I was very much aware there's a big diversity of what's going on, and people are chipping away at different parts of the problems with different points of view. And I actually think that's the right thing to do. I don't think we need a unified view that everybody needs to subscribe to. And if you have such a thing, where does it come from? So I've got 8 topics here. The first is habit. The second is factors. The third is successes. The fourth is obstacles. The fifth is lessons. The sixth is advice. The seventh is problems. And the 8th is when. So I'll work through these fairly quickly because normally I'm a bit too slow. And there'll be pauses where I'll invite you to chip in. So first of all, habit. I see this question of accessibility as being as much social as technical. And I'm going to make a bold statement. A major obstacle is habitual ways of thinking and doing that are inappropriate for the goal one wishes to achieve. Well, this is true for any innovative change. We have habits. Max Planck had a habit of thinking classically, and he discovered quantum mechanics. Now, for accessibility, thinking of one rather than we or us or the community, or even bigger than that, is often inappropriate. Accessibility is not an individual problem, although it may be an individual that experience it. I'll now go on to factors. Now I've identified 4 factors, and I'm sure there are others. The first is authors. The second is systems, and they can be social or hardware, software, or other. Readers, which have an enormous diversity, and context. So society, economy, legislation, tradition, health, cultural. It may be that there are problems relating to language, for example, different languages in use. At this point, I've flashed some words in front of you and I invite comments.
Something we've discovered with Pretext is that there are authors and readers, and then there are publishers. And it's been really successful for us to get authors to think as authors. And then when they're done authoring, then start thinking like publishers. And how do they want their book to look? Start thinking more about presentation and less about content. So I don't know if you want to put publishers on your list there, but when people are writing open source books, they are often the instructor, the author, and the publisher all at the same time. And they don't always get it straight what point of view they should be adopting when they want, say, a new feature or they want to make some change in their project. So I don't know if that belongs here, but that's something that's been important for us.
I think if you say it belongs, then it belongs. You're talking from your experience.
It's good to have there, is what I'll say.
Anyone else? I can cut out the awkward silence, so I can sit here for 5 minutes if I want to.
Well, nothing from me. That's really all I can say at this juncture.
If by factors you mean all of the roles that are involved in bringing information to people, is that
all the forces that we need to be aware of?
because I don't see my role there as like the in between the content and those who can access the content. So I remediate the content and make it accessible for people who otherwise can't access content because of how it's created.
So I've written down there, Sean, mediators. I think that's a better word than remediators, and accessibility experts. And there's also sighted helpers. Is that fair, do you think?
I don't see sighted helpers as I mean, there are people who help, but they're not, they don't encourage independent, free access to the material, and they're kind of evidence of a failure if we have to have a human step in and read for people. I know any of you, if you wanted to access something and had to go ask someone to read it for you, would not like that. So
this reminds me of a lawyer who worked for the Crown Prosecution Service, who specialised in prosecuting sexual crimes, and he viewed every successful prosecution as both a success and a failure. It was a failure because the crime happened. It was a success because there was some legal redress. So I guess the sighted helper, in your view, is somewhat similar to that. It's a sign of a failure, but it's.
Mm-hmm. But I guess so am I, as a person who reformats documents for those. So maybe we could just lump them in a single category as accessibility services, accessibility as service.
I think what's important about the factors that is that everybody who's involved recognizes themselves in that list and recognizes the role played by the other people.